Everyone, welcome to Into Legit Darkness. I have my friend Jerry on tonight, wherever he is. There he is, Jerry.
Howdy.
He is like one of my BFFs. Talk to him like every single day about random stuff.
We even cry together.
I do. We do cry together a lot, like a lot. We cry together a lot. I shouldn't say that,
It's true.
but it's true. We do cry
Yeah.
together a lot.
Watch, I can make her cry in an instant. Ready?
Probably,
Okay.
probably no.
No.
So tonight we're gonna talk a little bit about Charles Manson. And I know Jerry's got like a whole nother meeting, whatever, because that's more important
Yeah,
than
we're
me.
we're we're doing a Paranormal Expo 2003 in St. Cloud, Minnesota, and we finally got everything together. And yeah, right. That's the first thing they said. We got everything together now. Really? Sure.
Probably not. I know you
Yeah.
don't. I know you don't.
Um,
But we're also going to talk about a relative that was in a cult that you knew. Um,
right.
so do you want to start off with that? Um,
Sure.
and then if we don't get to Manson, we just don't get to Manson.
Well, we'll get to Manson, but the cult thing, yeah, it was an incredible thing. I mean, nobody thinks that anybody could take over a family member's mind. It's it blows me away that that happens. But yet you see uh boyfriends or husbands, even wives uh, and girlfriends manipulate other people into doing things. But cults um, can make you just lose yourself completely, lose your family. I have a relative, I'm not even going to say who they are exactly. I'm just going to say that it all happened when I was a kid, and they were big time alcoholics. And they got hooked into some church, and the church kind of really sucked them in. Where all of a sudden that they signed over everything to this. It's a cult, plain and simple. I mean, there is churches, and I'm not saying, you know what I mean.
Okay, right. But if they signed everything over, you're talking money,
Money, their land.
children.
Well, the children not yet. It was the land and everything first. And I remember my father and my mother both were like, "No, this is not. This cannot be happening," but it was. And then later, when they evolved into another church, they were asked then to move into, I'm going to say it, Utah, and they were going through this final one where they wanted more control over them. So then they asked them for their children, and they gladly signed their children over to which the cult members, said you'd be signing them over to God for us to help you take care of them.
You
And
mean
it was
sign
a
over
whole.
to God? Like they thought that they were God.
They thought that they were gods, and that by signing their children over to them, when they die, they will become gods themselves, and they'll be able to help others. But how can you help somebody else when you're dead? Those are spirit guides, right? But I mean, this was, a full, very bizarre thing. They did it anyway, and my father ended up having to take the children, fight for the children custody, and then had to fight sending in deprogrammers to kidnap them and take them out of there. And
So your dad actually went in, kidnapped them. Is that
had
what I'm understanding?
deprogrammers went and got them and took them away. And I think they had them for, wow, it was like 6 months. It was in the eyes of the law, that is a kidnapping, but
Okay, but how is it? Well, you mean okay, the deprogrammer had to come in and it's like kidnapping is what you're saying.
correct.
I didn't think your
Yep.
dad like swooped in there and then like just randomly took kids, but your dad probably could. And
He
it's yeah,
wanted to. He wanted to. He had guns. He had everything ready to go. But then it would have been a murder scene. So, but he hired he didn't really hire them. They just they donated their time to come in and to separate the affected, uh,
Mhm.
and to take them out and to get them back. And then it was like 3 or 4 years later, Dad gave back the children to them, and
To
which
the
was
to
a
the
mistake
parents.
to the parents. Yep, and we
Mhm.
thought everything was fine.
Mhm.
But then they started acting the same thing, just to a Baptist church that wasn't really a cult, but the way that they act, I mean, when it
You mean
comes
like so
to
like they take their and I don't want to get into religion. Okay, that's
right,
something that you and I've talked about. But
right,
they want to take their religion to like the next level is what basically what you're
correct,
saying. They're hardcore religious people.
right. Oh yeah, yeah, they're
So it doesn't matter what they were doing, it's just matter of what suited their needs at that time.
right.
I mean, that makes complete sense and I know that and I know this is not funny. But I was
Right.
watching this thing on Polly Shore. Okay. You know I was gonna bring that up.
Yeah,
Okay. And he tried to interview people that were going into a courthouse. And I know it shouldn't have done it, but I couldn't stop watching it. Okay. Because y'all, I'm a big Polly Shore fan. Okay. You know this.
yes. Oh, I know you are.
And they were getting so mad because he was trying to like cut across like the reporter line and stuff like that. And I think he was trying to take it seriously because maybe he was trying to take it seriously. But I that wasn't a skit. I mean, or maybe it was. It doesn't matter. I just couldn't stop watching it. Like I guess I couldn't take him seriously when he was trying to do it.
Right. It's funny that you say that Polly Shore did that, because here in Minnesota, there was I which Fancy Ray McClellan, who um, has his life the same as Little Richard.
Mhm.
Okay, he dresses like him and everything. This dude is funny. He's black, so he'd be like a black Pauly Shore in a way, right? Well, he did a oh, what was the name of the place? There was a brothel over in St. Paul back in the day, and he decided to go in and do an interview. So here he is laying on the bed with these prostitutes and talking to them about their life and everything else and stuff. But it I just remember I was watching it, and um, it was it
Well,
was incredible the way he did it until the police busted it, and they got him too for disorderly house is what
because
they called it.
I think like Polly Shore went up to Chris Hansen and was like, "Oh, they're trying to kick me out. They're trying to kick me out." And he's like, "Well, were you like in the middle of trying to?" He's like, "I'm just trying to be a reporter." And I was thinking to myself because it was like a cult type thing, and I thought, is he really taking this seriously? Because the rest of them are, but it's Polly Shore. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? So I couldn't stop watching it because now I had to,
Also
now
because
me.
you're a Polly Shore fan. I think you're the only woman out there that thinks he's sexy.
True. He's
Yeah.
so cute. He's so,
Can
so
you guys call in and let us know what you
cute.
think?
Not only that, but like speaking of cult leaders, like I will say this, if he started a cult, I'd go running.
You are such a nut.
I
You're
think he'd
such
be
a
like
nut.
the only one that I would, definitely follow. I'd be like, I want to do that. So I know I only have you for a short period of time. So we could talk about Manson and not me trying to follow Polly Shore in like a cult type thing.
Right.
Okay. So you better have done your homework. Just joking.
Oh, actually, I did. I was pretty amazed by some of the stuff of Manson. Did you know that when he was born on his birth certificate, it didn't have his name? It said
Mm-mm.
no name Maddox. And he was given the surname of his 16-year-old mother,
Hmm.
Manson. Yeah.
But I found, and like, I didn't know this until yesterday because of course, when you think of like Manson, like for somebody like my age or something like that, you're not going to dig like really deep into it. Like I'm not like huge into Manson. I really like Jim. I can't say I like Jim Jones. Well, fascinated by Jim Jones in a weird way. Um, but I will say that like I want to know how his mother, out of all the people in the world, went ahead and traded him for a glass of beer
Yep.
as a baby.
Yep. Um,
I mean,
but the boy's uncle was forced to search for him and return him home the next day.
I know, but it's still. I mean, that's you're a mom. You know what I mean? Like you can't drink that much. I mean, well, I guess if you were jonesing for that, you know what I mean.
Right.
But I do know that he never knew his father. And then his mom, she seemed to have like a little bit of life of crime there too, though.
Yeah, she was kind of a, you know, one that wasn't really good at being the responsible, respect,
Not only
but
that, but like just being a decent role model.
that exactly.
I mean, that's your child. And I don't want to say I get because I don't get it, but why not just, I know she tried to give him to foster care and they wouldn't take him. Well, they were full. I don't really know how you could be full in foster care. I mean, but we got to remember that was way back in the day.
Right. Right. It's funny. Well, it's not really funny. I mean, it says that he was a petty thief, a pimp.
Hmm.
He was in and out of prison most of his youth, where he fell into the spell of Scientology.
And
And
okay, I tried to dig up as much as I could on Scientology so I could, but there wasn't much that I could really come up with.
Tom Cruise. There you go.
Well, I
That's it.
know, but I mean, it's Tom Cruise. Like, I can't call Tom Cruise and be like, "Hey, can you give me the 411 on Scientology?"
Well, I know, but I mean, Scientology is
I mean, I thought, I mean, I wasn't, I couldn't really find anything unless I wanted to join the church.
really
I couldn't really find anything that was like beneficial, but I do know that he took what he wanted from Scientology because one of his cellmates was a Scientologist. Um, but then there was this other religion that basically it was based on like sex and devil worshiping, but God as well. Um, it, he just it's like he took what he wanted from each little thing and he said, "Oh, well, this is how I'm going to live."
right.
And I mean, there's nothing wrong with taking what you want from each religion and deciding like whatever, as long as you're not harming anybody. But I feel like I don't know. He just harmed a lot of people.
Right. Well, one thing that I was always told, my uncle actually told me when I would, and this even says here, he was, let's see now, he fell under the spell of Scientology in a hugely popular self help book, How to Win Friends and Influence People. Now, my uncle even told me if you want to read a book that's going to mess with your head, read that.
Well, a self-help book.
Yeah, on how to win friends and influence people.
I mean,
I, c- I re-
I don't think I want to just go to like just go to like Barnes and Nobles, pick up like or Barnes and Noble, not Barnes and Nobles. I got a little bit
novels.
stuffy tonight. I've had a little stuffy. Do you just go to like the help section and then just be like, oh, well, I'm going to take this book. I got to make friends.
Right. Well, there's so many people out there that have such a low self-esteem that they want to try to better themselves.
Oh,
But so far, that book has not been. I didn't really care for it that much.
you read the book?
Yeah, it was years ago.
You still have the book? Because now I'm curious. Because now
I
if
don't
you
know
got
if
the
I
book
still
out,
got it.
he's like, I don't know. I don't know.
I
I'm gonna
probably
look.
do. It's been a long time. I mean, like years.
Yeah, but are you
But
talking about like just making friends? Like you're Jerry. Like we've been friends for like
I we have been,
7, 8 years.
yeah, yeah, and but no, I did a long time ago when, way before, even before you were born. I was reading that. I read that book, and I pretty much, I bet you I got it. I'll find it and send it to you.
Because now I'm curious. I'm like, what's in the self help book?
It's
Well, I don't need any self help because now that sounds like I need
Oh,
self.
you need a lot of help if you think that Pauly Shore is sexy.
I'm just
Come on.
okay, but I could just go to Barnes and Noble and be like, I need self help. I need a self help book.
All right, I'll get that one and I'll send it to you.
um, but so of course he has this life of crime, right? He claimed he was sexually assaulted, and I'm saying he claimed he was. Like we can't verify that.
But you can't throw it out either.
Okay, okay, okay.
Hmm.
It's allegedly he was
Right.
raped. But what I'm saying is it's Manson. Like
Still, he's a person.
I understand that he's a person, and I'm not saying that it didn't happen. I'm not saying that like now we're gonna argue about it's like a phone call. You're like, wait, just hear me out. All I'm saying is like I've watched some interviews, like his eyes are like just totally crazy. He will not sit down. He's like, oh no, I want you looking up at me. Like I'd be like, sit your ass down. Like we're gonna have a conversation like a normal person. Well, he wasn't technically a normal person. Um, so anyways, he was a cult leader. He had 100 followers, and he loved women. He loved women.
Yeah. It was his the Manson family was a
Hmm.
sex cult.
Well, he was giving him LSD,
Oh
um,
yeah.
but he was only giving himself just a tad bit. So, I mean, they could have orgies and basically get into. He was getting into their psyche, and it was a lot easier back then to do that. So,
Well, I got to say that that's a lot like the cult that my
your relative.
relative was in, because a lot of things that they fed them was, there was drugs, but also was candy. Candy is one, yeah, that'll turn your brain to mush because the amount of sugar and everything. So
So what you're
it's a
telling
high
me, I
low.
should not be eating Cadbury eggs because those are my favorite at like Easter time. So I shouldn't eat like a crap load of those. That's what you're telling me? Because it
I
turns
won't
my
send you any for Easter.
because it'll
No.
turn my but candy out of all the things in the world,
Well,
candy.
candy, yeah, because I mean, if they don't have any drugs to send them, we're going to send them candy. That's like if you are an alcoholic and you take away the alcohol, you're going to crave sweets. So you start to hit on candy. What happens? You get fat, you know?
So I should lay off the cookie dough, the raw cookie dough, and
Oh
then
my
feel like I'm
God, everything's about you.
I
Wait a
know.
minute.
It's
Isn't this
always
about,
no, it was
it's
always
always
about
about
me.
you.
It's always about me.
God.
No. And I understand what you're saying, but candy,
Right.
that's something that I've never actually heard that they'd give you that candy.
They did. That was one of
Like, I
their
mean,
main diets
how
was
much
candy.
candy were they giving them? Do you happen to know?
Like a meal. Your
A
average
meal,
meal would be nothing but candy. And that would mess with your brain, that mess with your metabolism.
right? And I
It
understand
does
what you're
all
saying.
sorts of things to you, you know? Why are you smiling? This is
Because
not funny,
I know, but I'm thinking to myself, like, man, I better lay off the candy. Um,
but you're already gone, so
it's true. No, I mean that is really honestly that is technically news to me. I did never even
you
heard
never
of
knew
anything.
that. No, that was one of the
I
things.
didn't.
Yeah,
Candy.
candy, lots of candy. That's another thing. Replaces a meal and helps with that. Candy intensifies, like if you smoke a lot of pot,
Mhm.
candy will intensify that. Mountain Dew, stuff like that. It just keeps your body going. But then there's going to be a crash, and then
Well,
lack of
so
sleep is something that it's also
when
going to
your
mess with your mind.
relative was in this cult, when they were giving this relative candy, I mean, did this person have a crash? Do you happen to know? Like, do you know,
I
like after they were out of the cult? I mean, was it still kind of
Well,
was
they
it like?
never talked about it
Mm-hmm.
to us about it. The deprogrammers told us all about it,
Oh,
about
okay.
how they cracked them. Roughly that's how you crack them. You got to crack, to be able to, to get what happens to someone when they're under this. If it's not drugs, it's other things too. It's, the candy, it's the pop, it's all that stuff. It kind of, it messes with your mind.
I mean, I guess anything could technically mess with your mind.
Oh yeah.
I mean, if you had the right amount.
Yep, exactly. Starbucks should be illegal. No, I like
I'm
the dragon fruit stuff. It's really good. You should try it.
I'm probably gonna try it.
Okay.
I've been looking for dragon fruit. That's besides the point. Okay, so anyways, he had like 100 followers.
Yep.
Okay, so I was having this dilemma. Okay, and I know a lot of people are gonna say you're crazy. Okay, so I know that he is the one that tied up the I can't even pronounce their name.
La Bianca's.
There you go. It was right there on the tip of my tongue. But he didn't actually kill him. Okay.
No, he
So,
orchestrated. He was like a conductor.
right, and I understand that. So I was watching like videos on like his members that actually didn't take part in like any of the killings. And they're claiming that they didn't know anything about it. Manson once said, "Well, I didn't tell them to go do it. They just wanted to do it." But I'm having a hard time believing that he was a cult leader. I knew
Well,
you were. I knew.
he has all the signs of
I
being
know.
a cult leader. And even if he didn't tell them to do it, he inferred to them what he would like to have done, what should be done, how it should be dealt with.
Okay, and I mean, I understand that he wanted to start a race war. I mean, I definitely
Hmm.
understand that. Okay, and I know that when they went to the Tate residence, um, he claimed that they were his followers claimed that they did such a messy job that Manson was really upset about it, and he was like, "Well, you got to do it better. I'm going to show you how to do it." That is what they are saying. But sometimes I wonder when you're in trouble, right? You always want to blame somebody else. Not the
Right.
fact that you weren't, not the fact that you were the ones that went in there and killed somebody. And I understand he didn't kill anybody, technically, not in that, well, because there was a bunch of crimes that happened. And I know in Hollywood, there was, everybody was kind of in panic mode. I mean, at the end of the day.
Right. Well, he
But
wasn't a stupid man. I mean, when he was in prison, his IQ was 109, but when he was 16, his IQ was 121.
and I
He
understand
wasn't
that.
stupid.
Okay, but here's like I said, and I don't want to get into religion. That's not something like I don't
I
want to
never
get
said
into that.
nothing about
No, and I'm
religion.
just saying I'm just throwing this out there. I'm not trying to get into any kind of religion. But again, if he is like he is no different, in my opinion, than somebody who's preaching whatever religion you may follow. But I'm
Right.
not saying that they're saying go out and kill somebody. That's not what I'm saying by any means. Or they're not really giving you drugs. I mean,
Right.
unless you're Catholic, they give you wine.
What?
Yeah,
What drug does
communion.
Kathy give you?
No, no, not Kathy. I said if you're Catholic, I
Or
said
Catholic, sorry.
they give you wine for communion.
Right.
I mean, that's not. I mean, technically that's alcohol.
And
I mean,
that's if it's given to
but
young kids, they should be arrested.
but they're not going to because again, we're not going to get into that. But what I'm
Oh, see,
saying is,
now you're opening up all sorts of wormholes.
I know, but I'm saying I was just using it for an example. Okay, but you have a choice to go up there if you want it, or you don't have to take it. You could just go up there and be blessed or whatever, right?
But the pressure of it, of everybody watching you and you knowing this is what they want, you are going to make them happy. That's where it is all from. And that's the same with Manson. All of those people, those 100 people that followed him, wanted to make him happy. They called him father. He was the
Right.
one.
But and I understand what you're saying, okay, 110%. But what happens if they didn't want to take LSD? There was somebody else that was like, because from what I'm understanding, is he said, whatever you learned in school, just let it go, let your ego go. I mean, I mean, I'm not saying that he brought up good points. That's not what I'm saying by any means. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying if you think about it. I just said religion in general. I just used something for the Catholic Church and the wine. That was it. You don't have to go up there and take it if you don't want to. But
Not
who's to say
actually.
you have to go? Well, who's to say that you had to take the LSD? Who's to say that?
You're with a group that is doing all these things, and you're going to be the first one to say, "No, I think I'm no, I'm not going to take it."
Yes.
Bull, you are going to take it. Your
No, I'm
mind is
not.
no your listen to me. Focus.
I
Look at
am.
me. Look at me. Okay, you're looking at you're not looking at it the right way. You're looking at it like um these people know how to manipulate you. They will manipulate you in every sense of the way. You say no, you will turn around and do it because they know how to get under your skin. And then there's other people around. So there's levels. There's the big
Hmm.
guy, there's Manson, and there's his lieutenants, and then there's the followers down here. The lieutenants are there to make sure that things go through. Don't you shake your head no at me.
I'm just saying,
You
like,
were thinking of it.
I was thinking of it, and I
Yeah.
definitely understand what you're saying because, like I said, I
See?
wasn't there. But also, I guess my thing is I'm not going to take one of my favorite or a song either, and I love the Beatles, by the way. You guys weren't there. You guys didn't
I
understand
love
the
the
magic.
Beatles.
Just
Yeah.
saying, that's my
I
thing.
heard them 20 years before you did.
Oh my gosh, you weren't there. You didn't understand the magic. I'm just joking. Neither was I.
Yeah.
But what I'm saying is I think that at the end of the day, like he took this song and was like, "This is what it means. I have to start. This is what it's talking about a race for." And
Helter Skelter.
yeah, and then them writing pigs on or pigs and stuff like that in blood. Um, I mean, I don't think that that was his idea from what I'm understanding after that interview. They're like, "No, we did it. He didn't tell us to do
No,
it."
but again, you've got 100 people. You've got the ones that know what you want. You've got the followers of them that are going to make sure it happens.
Okay,
So
so
now you want to add confusion. You want to add chaos.
but
Helter
my
Skelter was the type of song that did that to your mind.
right, but what I'm
Listen,
I just have a quick question though.
well, you
I know I
okay, go
cut you
ahead.
off.
What
You
is your
know me,
question?
I cut you off. I do it all the
I
time.
know. She does. She does. Everybody, I am talking to her and she's like, "Did you know what?" And it's like, "What? You know, a squirrel passed next to you?" Anyway, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Now I don't even remember. But what I'm saying is why no, now I remember. Why is it that you think, I mean, and I don't know about your relative and what they exactly did, but it's like he only picks certain people to go do these murders. And I find that
Yeah.
odd. So what was this why those ones? I mean,
Because
we're cuz
those are the ones that were there were his lowest ones. There was some that were, the ones that listened to him all the time. But then there was the other ones that had to be taught to do what he wanted. And they knew well enough exactly what he wanted. And they did it. And that gave him more power because he was able to take somebody else's life by taking another life. So he got their souls too. He was the devil himself.
Well, he claimed he was the devil and God all in one.
No, that's
I'm
where
not
he was
saying
he's just being stupid there.
right, but what I'm saying is that to me didn't make any sense. I was like, I don't think that's how that works.
See, does any of this stuff make sense? Any
No, I
Most
mean,
of the stuff that he even said at the court trial and everything didn't make sense whatsoever.
okay, and I'm not saying that you're wrong. I just have a hard time, like, and I guess it was just me. And I thank you for correcting me, but I'm just telling you, I had this thing. I was like, this just doesn't make sense to me. Like, I know he's crazy. Okay, like I've watched interviews and so on and so forth. But I mean, wouldn't prison make you crazy? I
Would
mean, it'd make
prison
me
make you
crazy. Yeah,
crazy?
prison has to make somebody crazy.
Oh yeah, it would definitely make you nuts. And if you're already crazy before you go in there and stuff, it might actually slow you down a little bit,
I
because
don't.
then you're missing something that you lost, where you've taken everything from people that were your followers. Now you get into prison, you no longer have those followers. So
Well,
now you're losing.
they did say that some of his followers, it took them like when they were caught. And if you guys don't know how the family members were caught, one of his followers was in prison or jail, I should say, and she told one of her cellmates, I guess I don't know if it's prison or it was probably prison. Told one of her cellmates, and that's how all this transpired because she said that what was she at the Tate murder, um, which I mean she couldn't hold it in. I
Right.
mean, but so that's but at the same time, what was it? He just got conspiracy to commit murder, right? If that's what I'm not mistaken. Because they
I don't
all
remember.
I can't remember because I do believe it was conspiracy to commit murder and something else. Um, I don't remember at the top of my head, but I do know that they all at one point got the death penalty, and then that was overturned, and then they just did life in prison. So half of them died in prison. We all know Manson died in prison. He supposedly died of natural causes, but this is the weird thing. I couldn't help myself. So there was a girl who wanted to marry him
Right.
in prison
Yeah.
for his body.
Yep. His fiancee wanted to display his dead body in 2014. Manson
Mhm,
announced that he was engaged to a 26-year-old woman called Star, who he claimed wanted to marry him so that she could display his body in a glass case after he died. He died in 2017
mhm.
at the age of 83, but his fiance's wish was never carried out. And if it would have been carried out, you know how many nut jobs would have done something? They probably would have taken the body, brought it up to the hills, and did all sorts of things to it. And then again, start another cult, you know, with his remains.
Well, I do know that his grandson ended up with the remains. I do know that.
And what did his grandson do with them?
Okay, so I guess he had to go to court and do this whole process because he supposedly there was a pin pail that Manson said or had Manson's will, and there was somebody else. So there was a good 6 months. And when I was watching, I'll be the first one to admit, I watched this whole documentary on like his funeral and it showed everything. And that's just not something I should have watched, but I did. Um, So basically, instead of keeping him on ice, okay, which I don't think you can just, I guess they just refrigerated him. So he started decomposing a little bit more than he probably should have.
Ew.
Well, it happens.
Yeah.
I mean, because if you're, tied up in cord over a body, I mean, what else are you going to do?
Yeah, you got to do something.
So his grandson claimed that no matter what family member it was, he wanted to give his grandpa a proper funeral. So they showed him in the casket. It it was different. And people coming up, people talking about him.
Well, one thing you got to say is his grandson doing that. Um, a lot of people might think that his grandson was nuts for doing that. No, that was his family member. That was his grandfather. He probably never met him or anything like that, but everybody deserves uh, to be buried in peace,
Well,
you know?
from what I'm understanding is I'm not sure if he went to go visit his grandpa in prison, and that very well could be, but I do know that he was writing him um in prison. And he did say that they got super close.
Okay, well,
So, what he did, he wanted to give him a proper burial. I don't
right.
know if I guess if my grandpa was Manson, I'd be like, the prison can deal with that. I wouldn't want to do that. It
Well,
could have been a circus.
the circus part is who knows exactly what he was really like behind closed doors. Maybe
You
to
mean
his
like
grandson, maybe he was different. Maybe he was a loving grandfather.
a
That could be.
loving grandfather would not be in prison because
Right,
of
but
murders?
people, when you're no, hold on a second. No matter who the person is, if you're in prison and then all of a sudden your grandchild reaches out to you, I mean, that's got to put a little spark in your
And I mean,
life. It's something good out there.
I definitely understand what you're saying, but it wouldn't be something that I would if
Well, it would be interesting to read the letters
we're not
if
going to
they
do.
ever became published, to read those letters from the grandson, that he had sent. And I'm sure there was a lot of questions, a lot of things, maybe a lot of regrets in those and stuff. I mean, that would be truly amazing to read something and to see. If only this kid would, probably he's a man now, I'm sure,
He is a
would
man.
put him out there, for it. That's like my ex's grandfather. His best friend was a famous boxer,
Mhm.
which we all know, and why for some reason I can't think of his name. He had a restaurant and everything. Anyway, I'm sure some people are probably saying, "Oh, it was that guy." Yeah, it was him. But anyway, he used to write letters to her grandfather all the time because he was a trainer. He helped to train him. Jack Dempsey, that's who it was. And these letters were scattered all over his house when he
Mhm.
passed away. And I know that her brother got a hold of these letters, and these were personal letters
Mhm.
from this boxer. And there was a lot of stuff going on back in those days and everything. It would have been nice to been able to read that, instead of thinking what everybody sees and stuff like that, but to know what were they really like.
You
So it
mean
would
like
be
what
interesting.
him and his the relationship that they had with each other?
The
Because I
relationship, maybe the doubts and the regrets that he might have had. Because I mean, what are you going to do? You find out that your grandfather is Charles Manson. Are you going to be like, "Well, it was really cool the way you did that"? No, it wouldn't you be more like, why?
okay,
Why did
first
you do
off,
this?
I wouldn't even acknowledge that. I'll be the first one to admit that. Maybe that makes me a bad person, okay? But I'm saying in that
No.
scenario, I'd be like, "You know what? I don't want anything to do with it." I just don't. I mean, there's too much that goes along with it. So I do give his grandson like tons of props for doing that. Like, don't get me wrong. It's just not something that I would do.
Okay, knowing you, you're saying this on the air, but I
I
know you. You would be the first one to be interested on why.
You're right, but
You
I
would.
mean,
Yes, see?
I
Hello.
know, but what I'm saying is I just don't think that I would have enough courage to okay, then the whole world has to know. And that wouldn't be
Oh, you
something that
mean to write a book?
well, I don't think he wrote a book. I'm not sure, but what I'm
No,
saying
no,
is
no, that's what I'm saying. It would be nice to know
right, and I understand what you're
what
saying.
his grandson wrote to him about, and if he turned out to be a normal grandfather, not somebody who's, all, sexed out and everything else. You know what I mean?
No, and I definitely understand what you're saying, 110%. I'm just
Okay.
saying for the sake of argument, I don't think I
There's no
could.
argument.
I'm just saying, I don't think I'd do that. I just feel like maybe I would do it low key, but I don't really think I'd actually do it. Like I wouldn't say, "Well, I'm going to fight you for, my grandfather's body." Like I don't even know if I'd show up because again, he did say that as far as when he was little, the grandson, he basically didn't they didn't talk about that in his house. They kind of they just
Right.
didn't until he got older and then decided, well, let's do this. So
But still, now,
you know me too
again,
well. You know me too well.
right. But again, at the same time, I mean, I think I'd want to know what made him do all this stuff. You know, I think I'd reach out to him, you know,
I don't I don't
why
think I
not?
could. I don't know.
I've got an uncle sitting in prison right now because he's no, he's not an uncle. I'm sorry. He's a cousin. He's a serial killer out in Washington. And everybody's asking me, are you going to reach out to him? I'm thinking about it.
Now he
I'm
tells me
thinking about it.
on the air. He tells me this on the air. Mind you,
No,
like
I
I said,
told you this before,
no, you didn't.
but you changed the subject right away to something else.
Well, we have like an hour conversation like every day, and then I try to get
We
it
do.
all
And
in.
I have to tell you guys, I adore this woman. I adore our conversations. There's always something new going on, and it's never boring.
And this is the truth. Like 8 o'clock every morning on the dot,
Yeah.
I call Jerry.
Or even 7:30. If it's 7:30, I know it's one of those, you're not going to believe this. And if it's 8 o'clock, it's like, hey, did I wake you? You know, and it's awesome.
I mean,
You know,
that's just the way that life
and
is.
sometimes our conversations are so much. It's like, okay, I'm going to the bathroom. Like,
Well, it's true because it's just like, oh, okay. But like I said, randomly, like now, Jerry did not. I swear, I do not remember you telling me that your cousin or whatever was a serial killer. Now he tells me.
no, I
Okay,
told you about that. I did tell you about that. But for some reason, I use the word uncle, and it's not my uncle. I just know that for some reason, there was a mistake and he almost got paroled. And he called his father, which was my uncle, and he said, when mom died, he left the house to us kids. So I'm being paroled. I'm going to be living at the house. And his dad said, my uncle said, absolutely not. He said, it's in the will. You don't have nothing you can say about it. And
so now
actually,
we're gonna
that
have to
would
do
have
like
been true. A
a
whole what?
whole story on his serial killer cousin now because
Yeah, that
now he's
I don't
been
even know the whole true story of it. A
well,
lot of
he's
my relatives will not even talk about it. They want nothing to do with this guy. He killed 7 women,
because I think if you killed like 3 or 4 people, you are technically a serial killer.
3 people.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I said three or more.
That's
Yeah.
like Ed Gein is not a serial killer. He only killed 1 woman, but he dug up 2 bodies. So that's 3, but it's 2 bodies he just dug up.
I do have the dirt that you gave me.
I know,
It's
and you gotta do something with that
I
and see
know.
if paranormally wise. I know this is not a paranormal show, but, just to give you guys a little background on me, I have been a paranormal investigator now for 13 years plus, and, I've seen stuff that I cannot, and I'm a very, very big skeptic on what I see. And I think a lot of teams here in Minnesota do not like me because I don't believe in mystical, magical type stuff. It's got to be proof. No other thing but proof. I want to see a picture. I want to see an EVP. I want to see it in video.
Or Reenie's Lake House, where everybody's like, "Oh no, not doing this again, not doing that again."
That was a one heck of a house.
It was.
Yeah.
It was.
When the door shut on me from behind with no wind coming through and it slammed shut, me and Will, who was part of the team at that time, he was a big dude. And he's like, "Yeah, we should go."
So yes, you can find Jerry on Para X, right?
Yep, my show is on www.paraxradionetwork.com every Wednesday night at 7 p.m. Central Standard Time till 8 p.m. Central Standard Time.
And sometimes you can see me on that show.
Yep, and she definitely is a fan favorite.
I know.
Yep. Oh God.
I'm just
Here
joking.
we go. There's no ego on it's all in her, guys.
That's why I not being a cold to be like, you know what? I'm not going to get rid of my ego.
No, never do it. That is what you beautiful and egotistic at this.
Materialistic, and and it's
No,
all
you're not materialistic. Well, yeah, you are, ain't you? Yeah.
yeah. So I'm going to wrap this up for tonight, and thank you, Jerry, for being on. It was a lot of fun.
Well, thank
And
you.
we're
I
gonna have
appreciate
you
it.
back, and then we're gonna talk about. I'm gonna dig some stuff up on
Serial
this stuff.
killers.
Yeah, no, I swear he never told me. He never did.
Yes, I
And if
did. Yes, I did. Yeah, but she started talking about her Kors, Michael Kors purses.
that's probably true. All right, thank
Well,
you,
thank
Jerry.
you so much. I love you, little girl. You're awesome.
I will talk to you soon.
Bye
Bye.
bye.